Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you're with Simon today. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the full moon in Aries, and this is for the 20th of October, 2021. As always, guys, I hope that you're well and that this video finds you at a place within your life that is fairly peaceful and at least in a state of empowerment or working towards that. There's a lot to talk about in this full moon in Aries, to be honest. We've got planetary nodes of Chiron being activated. We've got squares with Mars and Pluto. And we've got 4 planets that have just gone direct. So, I can imagine that leading this week, right, this kind of last like 5 days leading up to this new moon in Aries, full moon in Aries, as well as the energy sort of going after this point, in the cycle, it's very, very like, whew, there's lots and lots of things happening all at once, and you can't kind of prioritize stuff and say, well, I'll deal with this later, I'll deal with that later. Everything has to be processed. You can't say, can't do this. There's a lot of moving through us right now, right? This just kind of flushing into our reality, and rightfully so. Like the new moon, I keep saying the new moon, but the full moon in Aries message is an emergent reality that is coming into our space that we've been holding a deep desire for the last 5 months, right? It's ushering in a chance for us to step into a new paradigm of relating to ourselves internally, emotionally, way of how we would want to relate to other people, where we want to draw our boundaries and we say, no, this is not what I'm prepared to tolerate, or yes, I will carry this weight for you for a certain period of time as an expectation. Where are your expectations leading you to deeper feelings of being stuck, or feelings that you are developing resentment because you haven't been drawing those boundaries in a healthy way? All of this energy right now is really pushing us to see what no longer works for us in our lives. Say, that's it. This is no longer working for me. This is where I draw the line. And stepping into a new state of organization, a new state of inspiration for something that actually is more deeply aligned with yourself, right? To get into your core, and to be able to live in alignment with your state of integrity, whatever that may mean to you, but also ushering in a new direction for us in a very profound way. But that's, and you'll hear me talk about it in the actual chart work itself, right? This is a place that we've been spending a lot of time with this retrogrades, in a place of processing where we overplace our boundaries, where we are emotionally closed and need to be more emotionally open, where we are needing to renegotiate the relationship we have to things and to people and to our work. So now this energy right now is saying we've reached a point in this cycle where it's culminated and we're on the precipice, just about to step into the new. It's here. And so within the next like 2 to 3 weeks, we'll experience the sort of the actual sensations, and we will be in a state of flow again within the next 2 weeks around what this new direction is for us. We'll be actually experiencing it. And it's pretty profound. Like there's a state of deep excitement that is emerging with this new moon in Aries. But at the same time, we also will see the opposite of that, where there is this intense constriction that's taking place, like this, an intense, like a limiting of resources, right? It's like contractions that are taking place that are squeezing things together. And that energy is necessary to birth innovation, to show us that whatever it is that we're moving in, or like what direction we're moving in, that no longer works. It's not part of this new paradigm. And so the more that you get onto the train of what is restricting in your life, forcing you to look at a new direction, the more you will be able to utilize that energy as something that's positive, as opposed to feeling something that is strangling you, right? That you're feeling like, your resources and your capacity to be in your flow is being diminished. So those are those 2 states over there. We've got, like I said, Saturn moving direct for us. Jupiter's moving direct for us. We talk all about this in the chart work itself. So without wasting any time, let's jump into it. Okay, so here we have the full moon in Aries, and this is for the 20th of October. And the first place that I want to really bring our attention to is these little trines that are taking place with the nodes there. Mercury is the planet that is associated with Gemini. The North Node is in Gemini. So you can see here that Mercury, being the ruler of that North Node, trining the North Node. This is a facilitation. This is a, hey, we're moving in a new direction. And bearing in mind that Mercury has recently been retrograde, you can see that the symbolism in the chart is pointing directly towards something that is fresh, something that has been renewed, right? Mercury moving direct is in a state of renewal. It is fresh from all of the information gathered over the last 3 months that it has been moving direct. And then when it goes retrograde, all the information collapses into an intuitive state, and we process things. And then as Mercury turns direct again, we begin to move into states of fresh mind, fresh new perspectives, and we're ready to gather new information relative to the new cycle that we will be beginning. So cool little triangle aspects happening with the air over there, Mercury, Saturn, and the North Node. And so that what that tells me is a new reality emerging for us. And it's also speaking to our sense of perception being available in a way that is not conditioned by the past. Yeah. Aquarius representing deconditioning, Mercury representing our capacity to gather information, the North Node representing new experiences that represent growth. So there's that package over there. So I like that little message that comes along. All right. So the first aspect that we're going to look at is between the sun, the moon, and this opposition, the sun-moon opposition that's sitting there, right? 27 degrees. And then both of them also squaring Pluto, okay? So whenever planets are squaring Pluto, you can be guaranteed that there is going to be a metamorphosis, a change. And the way that that will occur is through a flooding of unconscious emotional material to the surface that will feel like and sound like in your nervous system as a overwhelming sensation of frustration or anger or disappointment, some form of very strong emotion that's very overwhelming. And the message that gets always represented through Pluto is a sense that this is where there is a feeling of disempowerment, a feeling of, and if we go even deeper into our emotional landscape, you'll probably find that in more earlier states of your life, some form of disempowerment has occurred. So there's that emotion that comes to the surface saying, this is where some emotions need to be processed. And with the sun and the moon, which are luminaries, meaning our lights, right, squaring Pluto, you can see here that the message is very clear. It's like there's a tension with this new moon in Aries and full moon in Aries, by the way. There's a tension that is pushing through from Pluto, coming to the surface for us to be illuminated by. And it's saying something needs to change. Something must change. And for everyone leading up till this date and watching this video, you must have felt a sense of, I can no longer move forward like this. This is not where I can put my time and energy. This relationship cannot work like this. Okay. And we would feel those emotions come to the surface. Okay. So what do we do when we are accosted by these feelings? We have to check in with, well, what is it in our emotional and psychological landscape are we attached to, right? What did that relationship that we had, whether it be to a person or to our work or to anything that you are in relation with, where do you feel that the expectation that was born when the original relationship took place has run its course? So if we understand that, okay? Expectations are associated between the square between Libra and Capricorn. And so the feeling will erupt within us of what relation am I in? And how is that expectation of that relation no longer empowering me, no longer rendering purpose, meaning, and XYZ? You fill in the blanks relative to your experience. And so the moon in Aries points to and says, well, how can you free yourself from that? Okay. How can you step out of the comfort zone of and the familiarity of that, say, said attachment? Okay. And Pluto, being what Pluto is doing, is saying, I'll help you eliminate it. You must let go. You must relieve yourself of that attachment. You must free yourself from it. But that can be a difficult thing because it means that you will be faced with, Pluto, the question, are you prepared to let this attachment die? Are you prepared to go through an emotional process of fearing the unknown? Yeah? Okay. So initiation of change, breaking out of old patterns, and liberating. And I think for most of us that are watching this video, there's a sense of, yeah, I'm doing that already. I'm freeing myself of that. I'm letting go of that. That no longer works for me. And I feel that sense of empowerment coming along as I eliminate Pluto. What attachments are no longer supporting me in any way, and changing the relationship to those things. It doesn't, in fact, I would actually go as far as to say that in some cases, it doesn't actually mean an elimination of the relationship itself or of a certain attachment itself. It just means renegotiating the expectation or how you are going to relate to said relationship or said work employment or fill in the gap. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily be an actual complete elimination. It's just an elimination of an outdated security attachment and way of being or mode of being. And it is now replacing it with something that feels more correct for you or more empowering to you, right? Finding new balance, checking out these new needs that are important, and forming a new attachment, a new relation to it, a healthier one, maybe where there's balance, maybe there's equality. And you may have found over the last kind of week or so that this sense of imbalance or this sense of where things can have been lopsided could be adjusted, right? So checking out where you've been overgiving or undergiving, that's the clue here with this pattern. So that's the sun opposed Pluto, sorry, the sun opposed moon, Aries, Libra, and of course, square Pluto. The other thing that I want to bring into this context here, which can be a little bit more abstract in nature, because it's not something that you see within the astrology world, but the planetary nodes. So the planetary nodes. So for those of you that are new, what do I mean by planetary nodes? You see these little markers over here. Everybody's familiar with a south node and a north node. This is right. We all know that this is the south node of the moon. This is the north node of the moon. And what are they referencing? They're referencing the actual moon itself. We're seeing the evolutionary trajectory of the moon. So the south node and the north node tells us this more conscious evolutionary trajectory that we are walking on. Think of it as a road that we can see and walk on, right? But planets also have nodes. It's just not in this chart. And Chiron also has nodes, right? And so Chiron's nodes sit between 4 degrees of Scorpio, the north node, and 27 degrees of Libra, okay? And what that means is that whenever we have activity in this part of the chart or this part of the chart, you can be guaranteed that we're going to experience collective material. We're going to see the collective, a shared experience all over the world of this similar theme pattern, okay? And the nodes of Chiron, very, very simply, in my view at least, reflect the message of the human experience. So let me do this over here. Chiron is a gateway between the conscious and unconscious, and it is the path of transformation in our individual story, okay? So for those of you that are familiar with Jung's work, you will understand that he, brought through this idea of individuation, and individuation meaning who am I as opposed to what the collective tells me. In a very simple sense, it is the recognition of your own individual path, right? And walking that, coming into context of what that means for you personally and your myth, your personal myth. So when I see Chiron's nodes, I see the South Node representing this in Aries of our sense of autonomy, like who am I and who am I in relation to, Libra, yeah? And the nodes are also in Taurus and Scorpio. So how do I honor and recognize my individual sense of self in relation to the collective, right? And the collective's expectations and the collective's role. Where do I fit into that? Do I want to fit into that? Where do I merge, Scorpio, with the collective? And it's finding that kind of balance between living in a world where other people are on the same sort of trajectory, right? They're navigating their own individual path. How do we collaborate? How do we find union with those that are on our fractal? And so to me, I think Chiron's nodes speak deeply to the human experience in which we all can agree on that human social connection is a deeply fundamental part of our capacity to survive, right? We're social creatures in that sense. And to take it even further, at some point in your life, you've met somebody or have been part of it where an experience of connection to resolving karma of some sort occurs, right? A deep emotional connection with somebody, and say they die or they leave your life, or and there's a part of you that feels that they had meaning in your life, a part of you that feels that there was a connection, that you want to resolve things, right? There was like a complex of unprocessed emotions, and as you interact with this person, you try to resolve those complexes. And sometimes people can be successful in them and they can create union, but in other cases, it can just be a continued process of trying to declutter the space that exists between two people and the emotions that are part of that from lifetimes of emotional journeys. So that nodal axis speaks to the way that we collaborate, the way that we find connection, the way that we find merging. And it also speaks to our capacity to recognize where we don't have that, where there is necessary need for discernment, right? And how we find collaboration in a way where we realize our differences and understand our differences and try to still, in some way, shape, or form, respect those differences and live on this plane, right? Even though there can be vastly different ways of interacting. So this full moon also triggers relational themes that you will see in the collective. And I also think that it will bring to the surface, which is the main point of this full moon in Aries, for me at least, and for Janice, we're all turning a new chapter in our books of emotional and psychological healing and the way that we walk this individual path. And this is a collective shift. Like it's something that is turning for all of us, right? A new fresh start in some way. So I hope that kind of, reaches those of you that are really listening to what I'm saying. And for those of you that are maybe a little bit kind of confused by what I'm sharing, I understand that completely. This is a topic of conversation that honestly requires a lot more word association. Like, what do the nodes really mean? What do I really mean by collaboration in the context of this conversation? So I get that. So don't feel, that this is far out of your reach. It just means that you haven't exposed yourself to what it is that I'm sharing here. So yeah, maybe write in the comments for me as well how you see that play out. One of the things that has been very interesting to me with Chiron's nodes, particularly the South Node in Aries, has been our relationship to dominance. And I think that's what's also shifting here as well, is dominance, right? With the node squaring Pluto, there's emotions that come to the surface where we have the strong sensitivity of feeling dominated, right? We're in our nature, right? An overexertion of our individual self over other people, and the other way around, where we've been hurt. You even think about Pluto in Capricorn as revealing the darkness within governmental structures that feel a deep desire to want to apply all sorts of regulations in ways that are distant from what the community really needs or what the culture really needs in that sense. So Pluto is really bringing to the surface a tremendous amount of emotional pain and sadness and also liberation, the potential for liberation, to the surface in the collective. And it's saying, here's where we're trying to figure out this sense of collaboration versus the sense of feeling dominated, as well. And again, how do we actually deal with the emotional and psychological trauma that comes along with violations of trust? Remember, the nodes are also in Scorpio and Taurus. So when we place emotional trust in somebody, and then that expectation isn't met in some way, and we feel that loss, we feel that disappointment. So these are already core complex themes that emerge, and I've only kind of touched the surface here, but you get a gist of what I'm actually sharing. It's not a coincidence of what you're seeing in the world today, especially with these planetary alignments. Okay, so let's look at Mars square Pluto, Trine, Jupiter, and Aquarius. There is Jupiter. Remember, it's just gone direct 2 days ago, and we're looking at Mars trining it over there. Let's have a look. Mars in Libra at 23 degrees, trining Jupiter in Aquarius at 22 degrees. And there's the trine. And again, Mars is also squaring Pluto. So in this context, what we're seeing here is this. So here, let me show you the parallels. The south node is in Sagittarius. That south node is ruled by Jupiter. Remember right at the beginning of the conversation, I said, look at the trine between Saturn and Mercury in the north node. Well, here we have Mars trining that Jupiter, okay, which is the ruler of the south node. So we know instinctually that this Mars-Jupiter connection has a very deep impact on that south node. And you can also see that Venus over here has moved over the south node. So on the 6th of October, we had a new moon in Libra. And remember, Venus was here. And now we have the full moon and Venus is here. So there's a crossing there that's taken place. Okay. So this is now a new phase relationship between these two planets or these 2 points. And what is in new phase? Well, what is a new phase is the progressive, and I say it because it's progressive because it's a cycle and we're all kind of in that process of experiencing this energy emerge into our reality. But this progressive awareness that the old or the outdated no longer works for us in whatever capacity that is in your life, right? So around the beginning of this call, I talked about the message being deeply associated with the liberation of false truths and beliefs, okay? So this is where the planets show this, right? New phase relationship between Venus and the South Node says no longer whatever values you've held in the past, whatever you've attached yourself to that you've considered necessary, or what resources you've had in your life that you felt were meaningful, they no longer represent the future of yourself. So that connection there says there's an entirely new vista that's opening, and Mars trining that Jupiter is adding this kind of gasoline to the Jupiterian experience of it's time to now really go and explore this new vista, right? There's a new horizon that is available for us. And it feels amazing. We haven't experienced it yet because this energy is literally just initiating. It's like opening a window and saying, hey, look at look at the open lands. That's where we're at. If I were to actually condense this entire video into that short sentence, it's like you're opening a window and you're looking out, and the way that you are looking out this window emotionally and psychologically is that you haven't seen an open window in like 7 months. Okay, so there's like new potential, there's new possibilities that are emerging into your life. And this Mars is just kind of creating this sense of, there's something new to explore. There's a new way of relating in our life. Okay, so the square to Pluto in the context of this conversation is just literally accelerating the need to let go of what no longer works. That, of course, is facilitating the Sun-Moon aspect. Chiron, Trine, Venus, and again, this new phase energy here. So what we have here with Venus, I've talked about the new phase, is Venus is also quincunxing Uranus. There's the green line. And Venus is also making a trine to Chiron. So what that aspect really means, and I've talked about this probably 1,000 times, is as we venture into something new, right? As we move into this new horizon, you can't bring the past with you. It's not going to work. So the past is the emotional and psychological attachments to the values of the past. That's the inconjunct. And the trine to Chiron says, I'm in a state of awe around something new that's beginning. You can't bring old habits to this new world. It won't work. It will sabotage you. So you must liberate, you must shed the skin and the layer and the habits of behaviorisms that are rooted in your genetics, in your more in your biology, should I say, like your habits. Like liberate yourself from those things so that you can free yourself and step into this new world with a clean slate. Okay. All right. So really, in summary, this is kind of a full moon that is a point of emergence. Okay. There's emergence energy that is arriving out of it. And we're stepping into a completely new state. And this is for the collective. This is a shared collective experience that's coming out of it. So whatever it is that you can no longer tolerate, that is not okay for you, this energy is pointing to you and saying, let it go, put the boundary in place, let go of the expectation, cut what you need to cut, and reform new patterns of healthy attachments that are representative of a new world, a new state of self. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So we'll jump to the main screen again. All right, guys. So I really hope that you got a lot of value out of that sharing over there. As always, my attempt is to try and break down the astrology in a way that can help us see that, you know, what's happening in the outside world within our lives and what's occurring internally is deeply connected with the, you know, sympathy that is this galaxy that we're in, right? The solar system that is moving around us. And it's always beautiful to see how those two reflect each other in our lives. So in terms of summary, I wrote down some notes over here that I actually want to share with you guys before we go. So the question that is related to the Gemini moving forward, right, which we've got over here, which is moving forward, how can I lead with openness and curiosity? So openness and curiosity, what is this about? What am I exploring? What does this, you know, so there's this openness and curiosity, really leading with that, leading into this new experience, this new world of yours, this new state of being. Lead with openness and curiosity, right? And it can be difficult because it means that we're vulnerable in some way to the anxiety of separation, right? How do we handle this? How do I like manage myself in this new emergent world? And what you want to do in this state of being as we step into something new and we bring openness and curiosity to it is, well, and I got it over here, which was, where can I look? Where can I begin to identify resources that can support me? Where can I tap into resources that can support me? So see somebody that's maybe already in that world and start to take in Mercury direct, gather information, start to expose yourself to people who are already established in that space. Move into places where you sense resources are abundant for what it is that you want. And then with that openness and curiosity, be very curious about that. What is this? Why does this happen? Allow yourself to begin to digest this new landscape with openness and curiosity. And allow yourself to also seek resources that can help you make decisions in your life that keep you in a state of curiosity as opposed to stress, right, or anxiety. And check in with yourself. Every time you notice yourself saying, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do this, or you fear taking a step, ask yourself, maybe I don't have the tools. Maybe the reason why I fear it is not because it's bad, it's just because maybe I just need a little bit more security. Maybe I need to read a little bit more or research a little bit more or check into something before I step in so that I feel more secure. Sometimes with Aries, just jump in and let the experience teach you, right? Sometimes we're afraid to make mistakes because of the judgment or the persecution that we would have had when we were kids. So this energy is about really allowing yourself to find that unique balance between being courageous and allowing yourself to move into something, even though it maybe feels scary. And to also trust your instincts. Aries is about instincts. Trust your instincts. Check in with resources. Like I said, where can I find resources? What do resources look like that could support me in this process? Okay. All right. Cool. So that's it for me today, guys. I really want to say thank you so much for your time and attention. And as always, I really hope that you got some value out of this process. And if that is the case, let me know. If you want this video and this channel to grow just like I do, share the content with those that you feel will get value from it. You can always subscribe to the channel as well. That's always appreciated. Let YouTube know that this is something that is important. And one more thing that I want to do just before I end today's conversation is to all of the people that have been on the Patreon, Raising Vibrations as Patreon since 2017. This is just a shout out to you that you rock. You're been amazing. Thank you so much for your contribution to us being able to put ourselves on a platform like this where we can share these ideas with you and support those as we process this collective shift that we're going through. So to all of you that are patrons, have been patrons, we deeply appreciate you in so many ways, and thanks so much for your contribution. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Have an amazing day. I'll see you again. Bye.